Okay, welcome everyone to the February 13th State Historical Records Advisory Board. We do have a few people missing today. Actually, Karen's just joining. Let me get her situated here. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Dr. Waters is not going to be able to be with us today. His assistant cleared off his schedule the other day for all-day meetings of some sort. So everyone who was on his agenda got bumped off, including us. So apologies for that. But I am ready to share information from him too, as well as from the division. We do have a few folks missing today, but I thought we would start with some introductions since we have a new staff member on the call, and we have one board member, Drew Reisinger, rotated off, and we have a new board member. So I thought we could just do real brief introductions. You can say who you are, where you're from, and I'll probably just call on everybody to make it easier in the order that I see them. I'll start with me. Sarah Kuntz, State Archivist for North Carolina within the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. Adrian, you're closest to me.
Okay. I'm Adrian Burney. I'm the Outreach Coordinator for the State Archives.
All right, Catherine.
I'm Catherine Calhoun Cutshall. I am the Librarian and Archivist at Buncombe County Special Collections in Nashville.
Okay, Jan.
I'm Jan Davidson. I'm the historian at the Cape Fear Museum in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I guess I'm the new person. So it's nice to meet you all.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sharon.
I'm Sharon Davis, Register of Deeds of Durham County.
And Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Feeney, and I'm the supervisor for the North Carolina collection at the Forsyth County Public Library in Winston-Salem.
Okay, Scarlett.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scarlett Hargis with the Governor's Office. I'm the Chief Records Officer and the paralegal in the legal section.
And Danny is our new staff member who, those of you that have been on the board a little while, may remember Brooke, who worked with us and works with Adrian Outreach, and Danny has taken her place. So Danny, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Danny Sharella. I'm the new Outreach Archivist working under Adrian. So Jen, I'm also new.
And Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Young. I am the administrative assistant with the Archives and Records.
All right. And I did hear from Erin Larimore. She had a conflict today and has been out of the office some, so she couldn't join us. And then Lynn Chesham is also a member, and she is the Chowan County Register of Deeds. And Trey Adcock is a professor at UNC Asheville. He's our other member that's not here today. All right. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes from the October 10th meeting? Anybody see any corrections or errors? Things we need to change? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes in a second.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Karen.
I second.
Thank
This
you.
is Sharon Davis.
Thanks, Sharon. Okay, all those in favor of the minutes, I'm gonna have to call on you because that's the way that, or yeah, raise your hand. I'll look at you that way. Everybody in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, minutes pass. That's our big voting thing for the day. Okay, so what I thought I would do, since Dr. Waters was not here, is just kind of combine a brief report from both the overall Office of Archives and History and the Division of Archives and Records. And typically that's something that we do, is give you just a little bit of update of what's going on in the department and in the state archives, for your kind of situational awareness. And I'm happy to elaborate on anything. The main stuff coming out of the Office of Archives and History, as well as the whole department, is a real big emphasis this year on an initiative that our Secretary Wilson is calling Learning Happens Here. And it's a way to kind of really foreground the educational resources that are found all across the agency and all the different divisions. And there is a page off our website about that. And throughout the year, he's going to be emphasizing the role that all of our divisions play, not just in curriculum, materials for K-12 audience, but sort of general education as well. And that's all across, like I said, all across all of our divisions. So that's a major initiative to highlight our role in education across the state. And to that end, the department has created a director of education position that will be, will higher up the food chain and kind of overseeing all of the education work that's done on the division level. And that's done different ways. We have some divisions that have their own standalone education teams, and sometimes that's just built into work with other positions. So it kind of varies, but that director of education position is open right now and hopefully will be filled soon, and will be charged with really getting the word out to schools and to of all types about all of our educational resources. The other big thing that's coming up at the end of the month that I'm personally excited about, we are adding a new state historic site, and they're going to dedicate that. That is going to be the Thomas Day State Historic Site. And for those of you not familiar with his story, he was an African-American cabinet maker from Milton, North Carolina, ran actually quite a big business. He was one of the largest employers in North Carolina before the Civil War. And so his factory workshop area is going to be a state historic site, and they're dedicating that. So that's very exciting. And then the other thing that's got everybody running crazy is it's budget development season. So we're all in the middle of writing our budget requests to be considered by OSBM, and then in the budgeting process. So that's taking up a lot of time too. From the archives end, I just kind of wanted to highlight some of the work that we do in addition to all of our arrangement description, digitization, records management duties. And that's a lot of the outreach work, which we really do collaboratively, and Adrian kind of spearheads across the division. So some of that work that has been, recently very active includes, we have Tables, our community building team, which is charged with identifying places where we want to really build stronger relationships with different communities, have had tables at various events, including the two big major festivals at the Museum of History, the American Indian Heritage Festival and the African American Cultural Heritage Celebration. So that's always a lot of fun to share about our collections and what we do. We have been having a lot of tours, like it's like the pandemic never happened, and we're having all these great requests for tours from a whole variety of groups, everything from a group called the Freedom Fellows. I'll explain who they are when we do our America 250 update. We just had all 4 chapters of the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society were in town for a statewide workshop, and they came for a tour. I've got a UNC Chapel Hill Law School class coming. So we just have a whole variety of groups. The North Carolina Community College Archives Association is also coming in a couple weeks. So that's been really great that we're able to share with all of them. Adrian has been spearheading a partnership that has grown out of our America 250 programming with a local middle school. And she's been working with a group of middle school students on a service project, transcribing documents from the Revolutionary War and teaching them about, the history and how to transcribe things. They're also working on some resources for Freedom Park, which is a resource right beside our building. It's an actual park area. And that just got dedicated, this spring? No, late last year. And it's open for programming and for students to visit. And I encourage you, if you're in town, to stop by that resource as well. Hey, Trey.
Hi.
Do you want to share who you are real briefly? We do have a new board member, so we were doing introductions earlier.
Sure. I did you ask me to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Trey Adcock. I am an associate professor at UNC Asheville. My PhD is in curriculum instruction from Chapel Hill, and I'm also the executive director for the Center for Native Health, which is a small nonprofit over in Cherokee.
Thank you very much. We were just doing some updates from the archives, and so you didn't miss anything.
Sorry, I'm late.
Sharing a few things, mostly about outreach. And I hope to that end, I hope all of you saw in the email about the board meeting that we have 2 virtual programs for Black History Month that feature stories of people who are researching our collections to do their work, including one this Friday on the Rail Project out west, studying the creation of the railroads out west and the use of prison labor. And then I've watched this program develop from infancy and I'm very excited about it. The state capitol staff have been researching not just the names of all the enslaved people who built the state capitol, but they've been doing like a little bio as much as they can about them. And so they've created a great website that will launch next week called From Naming to Knowing. And it features all of the stories that they have been able to put together and reconstruct about these people's lives, as well as documentation about their lives in Raleigh and what they worked on in the Capitol. So that's very exciting to watch that program grow. And we're happy to highlight that. They've used a lot of our records for that program. So we'd love for you to attend if you can. And then I just also wanted to highlight, and Danny's been involved in this before she joined Adrian's team, our oral history outreach and doing a lot of collaborations with groups across the state, both to foster their collections of oral histories as well as ours within the agency. And that just continues to grow. And so in particular, we've been partnering with the North Carolina American Indian Heritage Commission to develop a grant that they submitted to the National Archives, to NHPRC, to expand our program of oral history collections with that team. So very hopeful that that will be funded at the May commission meeting is when that grant would be considered. So that's exciting. And then lastly, well, actually it's a other kind of outreach thing. We are just getting ready to kick off the development of a program. You may recall this if you've been on the board, that I got funded through an earmark request out of Representative Price's office before he retired. And that was to support the development of what we're calling the DocsBox program, where we're going to develop lesson plans and curriculum materials related to our primary sources. And that will get started very soon. So if you know any retired history teachers or someone who can write curriculum that you would be happy to recommend to us, we'll be hiring a one-year project director for that and getting started on that. And then, as I mentioned, the department's all busy in budget season, as am I on the archives level. And for those of you who are registers of deeds, which is only Sharon, I think today, due to the archives is funded almost all of my operating money, and 35% of my positions come from a fee that is collected at the Register of Deeds office for all transactions on real estate sales. That also funds the floodplain mapping program in North Carolina as well. And those funds are down because real estate transactions are way down across the state. And so we've now reached critical level where it's not going to be sustainable. We're spending more money than we're collecting. So I'm putting in a budget request to try to move some positions that they had transferred onto that special fund off and put them back on appropriated funds. So hopefully that will work, but it's a little bit frightening that real estate since the pandemic has just kind of gone down. And it's not on, I wish it was based on home sale price, but it's not, because those are really high. It's based on volume, and volume is lower. So we're working on that. Any questions for me? I know I threw a lot of stuff at you, but are there any questions for me about anything from the archives or something I didn't mention that you have heard about, you want to ask about? Okay. Always happy to answer questions at any time. You don't have to wait for a board meeting. Okay, well, let's move into some information from the grant that just wrapped up, as well as the new grant that's just starting. So you may recall that our I used to call it current grant. It's not current anymore. It ended at the end of December, but the 22-23 grant that was supported the programs that we did across the state about how to do local history programs related to the commemoration, as well as some commemoration resources. That's wrapped up, and Adrian is working on the final report, which we'll share with you all, but I thought I'd give her an opportunity to talk a little bit about the outcomes, like the big deliverables from that grant.
Yeah, so I was rushing to get it done by the end of the year. A few final pieces have finally gone live on the America 250 website. So one of those was the digital primary source directories, and Danny was actually our contract intern for that project a couple summers ago. So she's well familiar with it, but we sort of had to reformat the data tables she created to make them a little more in the right shape for the website. And so those are up now. I'm going to maybe try to put a link in the chat. They're in two different places. The other thing I'm going to tell you about is in a different place on the A250 website. So let me get that link. But once you get to the main landing page, there's a link for researchers, and that's where you go to find that. Sorry. Okay. And then the other thing that really was, I was rushing for at the end of the year, was getting these exhibit panels developed. And so we really wanted to try a print on demand version. So that's now up on the America 250 website as well. So if you go to the community toolkit on that landing page, you'll see exhibits, and we have a couple of sets of traveling exhibits. We also have print on demand. So we haven't really started promoting that yet on the listserv, but they are ready as of maybe just a week or so ago. So please share that with your networks, any institutions or even classrooms you think might want to use those. We'll have some staff hired soon, I think, with the America 250 project, who will be able to coordinate the kind of window shade panels that we have to travel around, but people can download their own in different sizes. So I hope that works out. So yeah, that's kind of wraps up the grant from last year.
Anything on the oral history stations you wanted to mention?
Oh yeah, that's a good thing. So we were trying to make the best use of the money at the end of the year, and we kind of had to redo the budget. Those of you who were on the last meeting will remember that. But we were able to fund a 4th lending station for oral history equipment, and that's all that equipment has come in. We haven't gotten it to the destination yet, but we wanted it in the Charlotte area because that's kind of an area we don't reach as well as we should, given its density and the number of institutions there. They're also that Mecklenburg County has really gotten into America 250 programming. So they're one of the more active counties at this stage with planning and developing resources for their local history and the commemoration, and have an interest in oral history. So we're going to put that kit at the Polk Birthplace State Historic Site. I mean, we kind of have to find something that's part of DNCR, and it's small, but their staff is willing to help lend that out. So we're hoping to get that to them very soon. Did I forget anything else?
I don't think so. Any questions on that? I would recommend that you go to the A250 website, to that off the community toolkit pages, to see the exhibits panels that are print on demand. They look really nice. They're very colorful. Adrian used a lot of primary source material to kind of illustrate the when are we us concept, and talking about immigration and expansion of voting rights and things like that. So they're very nice. And I did show them to a group of teachers last week and say, hey, if you have any ideas about any lesson plans that could be tied to these individual panels or parts of these panels, that would be great too. So they're very nice. I think they ended up really pretty, but I would recommend you take a look at those.
Well, and hopefully the themes that they highlight are flexible enough that local institutions and, like I said, even classrooms can kind of build off of that and pull together more local materials.
And if you have, folks that you want to recommend that they borrow oral history stations to, make sure you let them know about that. We'll probably do another little round of publicity when the equipment is at Polk, to just remind folks that it's there.
Adrian, could you tell us a little bit more about the oral history station? Is that kind of like the backpack program that we have that you can check it out, or is it more like a place to do it?
No, it's a lot more like your backpack program, and it is in a travel bag. We have in each bag, Danny can help me out here, there's one recorder, some memory cards, a couple microphones, a couple stands. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it, right?
Okay. I was wondering if we've been looking into like travel pop-up tents for outreach events. And so I was just making sure you hadn't found like the one because I can't settle them.
Yeah, no, you'll probably, yours is maybe more robust than ours, but at least the Western office and the Asheville area could be a place for people to go and use it if they needed some kind of quiet space.
Okay, and remind everyone there at the Outer Banks History Center in Manio, the Western office.
So it's the Western
Oh,
office in
and Tryon
Asheville
Palace.
and Tryon Palace.
Tryon
Our
Palace.
contact for the east is based in Tryon Palace. We thought that would be a little more,
Right.
Close to Jan's area in Wilmington than Manio might be a little more geographically limited. So Raleigh has one and Charlotte will be getting one soon. So those are the 4.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Can I ask about the exhibits?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so do you have a mechanism for tracking people downloading them and using them? Or are you just kind of thinking, that's great, it doesn't matter? I'm a little obsessed by numbers, so I kind of wondered how you would do that. And also, is there something that limits how small you can print them? Or are you just thinking if people print them at a size that's actually really not great for exhibits, that's just the way that it pans out?
So, yeah, it would be great to track that. We don't have a mechanism at this point for
I would
tracking.
assume Google Analytics can do it. Our department's heavy into reviewing everything that happps on the website, so.
I think they can track downloads,
Mhm.
so that gets you something, but then the next step, like, is whoever's downloading it actually printing it and using it? We don't know, so we would love to know that. And I think I want to try to maybe correspond with a few institutions that plan to use it and get those stats. Because yeah, the stats are important for grant reporting and that'll be due at the end of March. But I don't know that we'll have, besides downloads, any better way to track that, unless just word of mouth anecdotally we hear. So that's one of your questions. The other question about size, I haven't tested it out, but yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they can be useful in the classroom. They probably wouldn't turn out with a regular printer, but maybe some schools have a larger size printer that they wouldn't be as large as the exhibits that we've printed, which are close to 8 feet tall, but that they would still translate to a smaller size. So that's still kind of up in the air.
I think the piece that would be the most difficult to read is probably duplicated other places. So at the very bottom, Adrian listed the sources of all the documents that were imaged for the text. The text itself on the panels and the images of the documents are fairly large. The source notes at the bottom are pretty small. There is a whole separate page on the website where you can link out to the sources listed. So that can be found elsewhere. If you printed them, say, on 11 by 14 paper or something, and the source notes were a little small, I don't think the images will be too small. And the department will be using them in hard, printed version as well out. We've got a couple of Airstreams that they take to events that they're going to brand for America 250th. So that could go along, as well as loaning them out in hard copy to libraries. So that, we'll definitely have that kind of in-person statistics.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wondered if you had a page on on the site where you could download saying, if you download this and print it, let us know, then at least you have a way to reach out to somebody and ask them, their visitation or whatever it would be that would buttress the numbers so that you can better show the impact of what you're doing.
Yeah, that hasn't been done, but it could be done.
Yeah, because that's a simple way to do it. I mean, it's not going to get you everything, but museum and library people are pretty nice. They usually might fill out a form for you.
Yeah. I'll mention that to Lorraine. We could probably get that taken care of. Making myself a note on that.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great to have that, if we could collect that. And I think also the other America 250 exhibits that are more revolution focused are still being developed. But I think they're going to try to also have a print on demand option. So whatever form can be created could just be one and done as far as creating and uploading and collect for any of that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, part of the email to y'all with the meeting announcement included the objectives for the new grant, which officially kicked off the beginning of the year. And we wanted to give a little bit of time to kind of go over that as well, like what's on deck, what we might need assistance with. And I should say thank you to folks who helped Adrian review the exhibit panels at the end of the year and gave some suggestions on those as well. So Adrian, do you want to talk a little bit about deliverables for the new grant and where you need input if people have time?
Yeah, so one of the things is we've scoped out between 3 and 6 convenings where we will be talking about this project. And the project, again, is focused on public libraries as hubs for community archiving activities. And that can go in a few different directions. So we definitely want to do a presentation for North Carolina Library Association, which meets every other year. So 2025, I think fall will be their next meeting. So we've got some time, which is good because we want to be able to develop some of these plans and then showcase them at that opportunity if it comes through. We have been asked to speak at an upcoming North Carolina Public Library Directors meeting in March. So that'll be a good opportunity to get some more feedback on this and say, hey, here's this project that we're forming and starting to schedule things for. So that was a great opportunity that I think we'll be able to at least introduce the project, and some of those folks might be familiar with it because we had, if you remember, we had sent out a survey to the public library directors about their interest in community archiving or their staff's interest. So they may be a little familiar with the topic from that. And then pretty soon, and I'm so glad Karen and Catherine are on this meeting, we're going to get going with some webinars, and Catherine's already got one in the bag that she's doing for the Asheville Museum of History this month, right? So maybe we can just tweak that a little bit to make it relevant for the librarians out there. And, you know, let's the 3 of us start scheduling as soon as possible. Do either of you want to comment on your schedule now and what that looks like, or we can just, you know, pull together at a different time?
I'm kind of wondering what months you may have in mind. Because for the past 9-10 months, I've been working on more like administrative research projects and not doing a whole lot of archiving and don't have a whole lot of time. So, but that will kind of drop off in the late spring. So as we move into like June, July, I'll have a lot more time on my hands. But if anything's coming up before June, I won't be able to handle it.
No, I mean, it's up to you all. I would like to get at least some of the webinars underway before the end of 2024.
I think it's super safe to start looking into the fall.
Okay. Any preferences for you, Karen?
No, my schedule's pretty open.
Anytime now? So maybe we'll
So
kick
far,
off
I
with,
mean, stuff pops up, you know, in the public library, you never know, but.
yeah. Well, and I know we had talked about the memorandum of understanding topic and bringing collections in, and I think you're both involved in that. So yeah, so we may need to wait until Catherine's schedule opens up a little bit, but if I can book you both now, then can block off, well, not right now, but pretty soon we'll follow up with email soon and try to scope out some time frames, and we can all block off our schedules then for it.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Another thing that we'll be working on and think about is to produce a guidebook for librarians to have on hand and then handout sheets that they can just simply hand out when questions come up from patrons about various related topics. And some of that might be, what do I do with all my social media? And so we want to put those materials together. And we'll be hiring a graphic designer once we have the content. So that's probably going to be more in 2025 to make those look very approachable. So both years, 2024 and 2025, we're planning to do a round of TAP visits, Traveling Archivist Program visits. We have just a couple of days until the deadline. We have 6 applications in so far. So unless we have a mad rush at the end, that's a manageable number. But last year we did have a mad rush at the end. So I'm not quite sure what we'll be left with. 4 of those 6 are community college archives. And as you all know, we've been working closely with the North Carolina Community College Archives Association, and they have been heavily promoting the program. So we do have a huge portion, I mean, a huge out of 6, but that's a heavier portion than I might want. We always like to have more of a distribution of types of institutions, but if that's what we have this year, that's fine. Catherine, you want to jump in?
Oh, well, Trey has his hand up too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just see Catherine's, but
Yeah, sorry. Do y'all have a relationship with the community library in Cherokee at all? I mean, have they participated? Is there a relationship there?
Not directly with Shrab, but if you feel like they'd be good to be a part of using these resources or something like that, if you have a connection, you can connect them to us.
Yeah, I think, they might. I don't want to speak for them. A good friend of mine was head of that library and then left to go take a teaching job at Cherokee Central. But a former student of mine now is, works in a library and stuff. And I don't know what relationship they have off of the boundary. And, again, just like the museum, maybe this is a good first step.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll find out who it is and connect.
Yeah, that'd be great.
well, and one update kind of for that region, Trey, you may remember last year Southwestern Community College applied, and we kind of tried to give them resources by funding one of the college archivists to go and visit, but they've applied again. So
awesome. That's
yeah.
great. I remember that conversation.
So I think we'll be able to give them a little more service this year.
Yeah, very cool.
My question was going back a little bit to webinars and things. You talked about, I see in here things like cloud storage platforms and file naming, just to like put the bug in your ear that I've got a couple of staff members who have given a really great personal digital archiving program 3 or 4 different times now. So if we want to do a webinar on personal digital archiving, my staff can do that.
Okay, that sounds good, but I think that would also be a great topic for one of those handouts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, super.
But yeah, just wanted to let you know that presentation like exists. It's ready to go.
And it has been road tested, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
and it's been road tested, right?
Yeah. Has it been recorded already? With
No,
other platforms?
we've been doing it live and treating it more like a workshop. So folks bring their computer, and so it's like an hour of presentation and an hour of we're here to help.
Okay, well, that sounds, ready to go. So we should roll that out, add that to our
I'll let them know.
agenda, yeah.
Maybe minus the we're here to help, because that, we're recording something.
Yeah.
That sounds ambitious. You're helping people right on the ground.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, then I guess the last aspect to talk about right now is the grant. A new element of this grant that to add to the TAP program is an intern in the summer to focus on TAP and helping past TAP recipients. And we're just kind of piloting it this year, but we already have some applications in. We went ahead and advertised that with our regular schedule to advertise paid internships, and because our friends group funds one. So we'll be meeting to make contact with maybe interview a few candidates soon. So that's underway. That's on track. I mean, hopefully that person can help a few past or current TAP recipients this summer.
Yeah, you may recall that's kind of coming from that idea that sometimes, especially with all volunteer organizations, if we have a visit and have some recommendations, they might struggle with getting some things actually implemented. So having a student to assist with getting some implementation progress was kind of the goal behind that. So Adrian, do you have any need of any board members for like when you close the TAP application review or anything at this time that you need assistance with?
So if we just still have those 6 applications, I think we'll be able to spread across those 6 and not have to make a big selection decision this year. But if we do get an influx in the next couple of days, then yes, it's always very helpful to pull some board members in and get put heads together to make those decisions. So if any of you would like to be involved, please let me know, and I'll keep you posted on our numbers. So that would be, if you have some time, let's say if you have some time in the next week, because I'd like to make the decisions by the end of next week.
Trey, did you have a question or were you volunteering?
I was volunteering until she said, next week. I don't have any time for next week. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, you've been a big help the last couple of years.
Okay. And so any questions about the current grant or anything kind of like on the horizon? Okay.
Sorry, Sarah, I'll send out an email after the 15th, which is the deadline, just to let you all know who's applied and where we are with it.
Okay.
And if we have a bunch, I'll send out a final plea for help.
Okay. So usually near the end of the meeting, we have an opportunity for some updates like on advocacy issues that I've been aware of nationally. And then we've been given some kind of general America 250 updates. And I certainly want to leave time if you know of anything like on a local or statewide level, advocacy needs for archives or special collections. I'm happy to hear that. Don't have a ton to report from the national level, just a couple things. The National Humanities Alliance always does an advocacy day on Capitol Hill in March. And I think it's like, don't quote me, I want to say it's like March 12th. And in preparation for that, that's usually, museums, archives, libraries folks, less on the library side, just because they have their own American Library Association lobbying days, but trying to build support for the programs in the federal budget that fund the humanities. And I believe this year they're going to have an extra focus on the NHPRC and the National Archives funding programs. And a staff member from the National Humanities Alliance had a long conversation with me specifically about like SHRAB programs and what different states fund and, trying to get some additional details on that. So I think that's going to be an area of their focus to their national lobbying day. So that's coming up. Although Congress, it doesn't even have a budget for this year. So we'll see how effective an advocacy day is when we keep punting the funding bills down the road. So we'll see. But maybe it's good timing because they'll have to pass something by March or their continuing resolution runs out. So maybe that's good timing. The other thing I would that hit my radar recently, just for your attention, is the Council of State Archivists is the organization that supports the professional organization that supports state and territorial archives and their staff. And it sounds like they are thinking about in this year starting a program where periodically, maybe quarterly or a couple times a year, they'd have an opportunity for SHRABs to informally connect and just talk about things like, oh, how do you run your traveling archivist program? What are you doing for a program? Just to kind of share information, because I think sometimes that's where we learn good ideas about what works in other states. So just want to throw that out there. When I hear that that's actually scheduled, I will share that. But I don't think it's anything like any big presentation or formal agenda. It's more of an opportunity for Shrabs to connect and hear a little bit about what works in other states. So hopefully they will get that underway. And then from America 250th updates, a couple things for your information. I mentioned earlier, but didn't explain it, so sorry about that. We started a program called Freedom Fellows, which is a cohort of 17 teachers from across the state. And they're being funded by departmental funds, and they are doing a deep dive into exploring resources and collections that we have and lesson plans and things around the concept of freedom and the evolution of freedom from the Revolutionary War period forward. And they have met for the first time. They had their opening workshop on Saturday. They're taking tours of division assets, but they're part of what we're asking of them is for them to advise the department on what kind of curriculum and educational resources are needed to further support their work in the classroom. So they're a really good group of folks. We're excited by that, them starting. Couple other big things that are going on. The kickoff for North Carolina's commemoration will be on Halifax Resolves Day in Halifax this year on April 12th. Of course, most of the heavy programming around the commemoration will come in 25, 26 as we're getting into the 250th of the Declaration, but we're kicking off because there's just so much going on and we have so many things to program around, and we didn't want to make it be that like, oh, I have to choose between Halifax and something out west in 2026. So we're trying to encourage people to travel and get out there and get going on things. And I would encourage all of you, if you haven't heard of commemoration committees being formed on the local level, that you try to be a catalyst for that, because one of the things I've been talking to people about, and we're about to launch it, is the General Assembly did give us some money for this biennium to give out to counties and to history nonprofits for programming activities. So it's a small local grant program. The counties, if they have an official county committee that's planning, they get their money without any match. So that's just like $10,000 basically to help with commemoration programming. So that program, the local grant program, is about to launch, and we'll have additional information out about it. Hopefully this week. That's my goal, is to get all the pieces ready and get that on the website and open. So that's pretty exciting. And then also this year in the budget, the General Assembly decided to form a separate committee about America 250th for them to look at their interests and what they would like to prioritize. And so I've had the opportunity to go over and talk to their chairs of that committee. And so that seemed really great to fill them in on everything that's already being planned all across the state, and had a conversation with them about some of their priorities. And I'm looking forward to that committee getting started fairly soon and seeing what we can do together. And then from the archives end, we are busy working on the development of our first exhibit that could go out to a place for one day to support a local event. That will probably be on state constitutions and the history of state constitution and voting rights evolution in North Carolina. And then we're continuing to work on series of videos that we're posting on our YouTube channel. The most recent one that was done a couple months ago covered how to research your patriot ancestor in the archives. And I think they're going to follow up with one on how to research loyalist ancestors and just things like that. So like a little bit highlighting more about collections and what collections would be useful for people doing work. So that's a very high level overview about America 250 and big things in the works. Happy to answer any questions. And I'm also happy to open the floor if you all have local needs, issues, or anything you want to raise for the group, bring to my attention. Happy to hear about that too. What's good in your area?
Sarah, I have a question.
Yeah.
If I don't have all this clear, just forgive me a little bit, but I know there's a project which we've mentioned for a few years now that involves the North Carolina Indian Commission.
Uh-huh.
will there ever be a representative that comes and sort of talks to us about what that is and what their role is and kind of thinking through that? Or
So are you asking if the commission representatives can speak to SHRAB? Because I could certainly ask them to do that.
I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, I'm
Okay.
being selfish, of course, but you know, I'm just interested in that project and sort of their role,
Uh-huh.
the relationship between the work that SHRAB does. So
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if that's including someone in one of our meetings, but just, you know, I just would like to have, you know, again, being selfish, just would like to know more.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea, actually. And I can give you a little brief overview of where they're at. So the commission has been formed and they have representatives from all the state recognized tribes. I don't believe the Eastern Band of the Cherokee has a representative that's been attending lately. They had someone who was designated in the beginning and then withdrew. But they
Do you
need,
have any idea who that was?
no, but I could find out for you. I don't remember. I only met her one time. And I believe that's gonna come through the chief's office for the, you know, the designee.
I'm sure Michelle
Yeah.
has to.
But so they meet quarterly, I believe, and they are, you know, sketching out their major programs that they want to work on. They've been having presentations from folks in the department, kind of, you know, going to different divisions and seeing how they overlap and can work with those divisions. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the big initial area with us with the state archives has been the oral history program as an overlap. But yeah, so they've got, you know, like, I just know from being in the department, they've got several different things in the works, like exploring Native composers and music performances, say with the symphony. I know that the symphony has a composer in residence who's a Native American. I know that there's they just the other day in a meeting, they were highlighting exhibits of Native artists at museums, and you know what was coming both from our department and other places in North Carolina. So, you know, just kind of getting to know the different divisions in the department and how they can overlap. But I think it would be great. I can certainly talk to the executive director about maybe at a future meeting, he could, you know, come talk to the SHRAB and see if there's specific ways that they would like to interact, you know, on a records preservation and access level with their board.
Okay, that's all great. Thank you, sir,
Yeah.
for the information.
Okay.
Again, don't let my selfish agenda get.
No, it's actually, you know, on a selfish level myself, I really appreciate the work of the North Carolina African American Heritage Commission and the American Indian Heritage Commission, because they're a great way to kind of connect with boards that have broad representation and, you know, can speak for different regions of the state and different communities. And so we're very lucky to have those groups. And it's just the American Indian Heritage Commission is relatively new. So that'd be a good opportunity to hear from them, I think.
Thank you again. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Bragging about anything you're doing in your institution? Surviving, is that a good, you can also survive, and that's a good thing.
I'll just share as an announcement that we're really excited to have Dr. Waters and Dr. Kevin Young come to Asheville on Saturday. We're going to have a little mini symposium on Thomas Wolfe and race. So all the local state historic sites, so Wolfe and Vance are pitching in, their friends groups are pitching in on that. And tonight we're doing a kind of a partner program where we're doing some readings from portions of Welcome to Our City, which is really exciting. And then another original play by Andrea Clark, whose photographic collections we have at Buncombe County Special Collections, but she also wrote several plays. And this one is about the sort of dawn of urban renewal in Asheville. So we'll take a look at Wolfe's ideas on urban renewal. It wasn't called that yet, but Andrea Clark's ideas. And then Dr. Waters and Dr. Young will come on Saturday and discuss Thomas Wolfe and race. So they're going to look at Child by Tiger and Welcome to Our City, and we'll just have a good discussion. So that's our big Black History Month program, and we're really excited about it.
That sounds like a lot of programs.
Hey, Catherine.
Yes, Trey.
Hey, have you met Jimmy Bradley?
I have not.
Yeah, I think he took over the, what is it, the Asheville Historical Association?
Oh, no, I haven't met him yet.
Yeah, he was the Secretary of Education for the tribe, and I think he just took that job. But I think
Yeah.
he'd probably be interested in connecting with you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, just curious.
All right, anything else announcement wise or? All right, sounds good. We will follow up with information on the TAP application status and things like that, and as there's other updates, and we'll share the final report for the grant when that's ready, the grant that just wrapped up, so y'all can see that. And in the meantime, we're always here if there's questions about anything related, or if something comes up, a need comes up in between from your local area, you don't have to wait for the next board meeting to let us know if there's something happening. Okay. I'm going to assume that adjourning the meeting will not be controversial. So if we're all good with that, have a good afternoon, and we will talk to you later. Thank you, everybody.